is a whole look, man. If you don't know why I'm dressed like this, go watch my last video. Hi guys, I'm Libby and welcome to Punsy's Palace, where I do all things Disney, hence the Punsy, and all things regarding my life and home, hence my palace. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe down below for more Disney and lifestyle content. Today I wanted to talk about my top 5 favorite villains, ending on the one that I love the most and why they are just an awesome villain. And if you couldn't tell who that's gonna be by what I'm dressed as, you need to watch some more Disney movies. I think it's pretty obvious. But anyway, so I don't talk a lot about the villains on my channel. I did a whole video on talking about why lime green kind of equals a villain way back in October, so you can go and check that out. But otherwise, I don't really talk about the villains a lot, and I think it's because out of the villains, I love the villains. The villains are great, and I enjoy them so much, but I think it was because for so long, I didn't know who my favorite villains were. And I finally figured it out. I know who my favorite villains are. If a villain that you love is not on that list, it doesn't mean that I don't like them and enjoy them as a villain and as a character. They just didn't make my top 5. That's fine. That's okay. Starting at number 5, we have King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph. This one is a lot lesser known, not really in any Disney villains merch anywhere, but I love King Candy. Mostly because I am a child and I did not see that plot twist coming, even though my dad saw it coming when we saw it together, but whatever, it's fine. But I loved the twist and I loved that it was sprinkled in throughout and you thought the whole time that it was just like, okay, it's just giving us background because Ralph seems to be going turbo and we need to know like what that means.
I never thought he'd go turbo.
Go turbo?
That's right, you guys just got plugged in.
It has a whole backstory behind it. It's like, okay, yes, that is a lesson. We know that's bad, so Ralph shouldn't be doing what he's doing because it could end up being turbo and could get the game shut down. And what's weird is that you don't even really try to connect that Sugar Rush is a racing game and Turbo is also a racing game. It makes perfect sense when you look back at it, but when you're first watching it, I don't think you really pick up on that. Plus the fact that he is an amazing twist villain, a much better twist villain than some of Disney's other twist villains. Yeah. And the fact that he has a very good scene that kind of shows how manipulative he can be and how convincing he is. Because up until the moment where we see him bashing in Vanellope's car, we don't really think he's a bad guy necessarily, just somebody who, you know, is kind of an annoyance. And the scene is when he comes to talk to Ralph about how Vanellope can't race. And the thing is, what he talks about actually has some truth to it. He's like, she can't race because what if she just keeps glitching and glitching? When the kids try to play the game, that could get the game shut down and she can't leave the game because she's a glitch. And all of that is absolutely true. She can't leave the game because she's a glitch. He has some good insight to being like, the kids are gonna see her glitching and think the game's broken and so we would get shut down. A good concern to have.
You don't know that'll happen. The gamers could love her.
And if they don't?
And so he says all of that to Ralph, and it's all so convincing because all of it is pretty much true.
Ralph, I told you I can't leave the game!
Now, Vanellope does glitch and everything, and the kids do like it because she glitches in a way that is controllable, and she's able to do it to kind of win the races at times, and so the kids love that. But at the time, we don't know that. And so King Candy saying that to Ralph and getting him to wreck Vanellope's car and kind of ruin that friendship for a little bit was really devious, really manipulative, but also kind of coming from a good place if he wasn't the actual villain. And then the entire like third act where you find out he is the villain and he is Turbo and he is trying to destroy Vanellope's game and take her place as the main person of the game is amazing. And also him as a cybug like mixed up together was absolutely terrifying, but in like the best way possible.
Get back here, little guy!
He gets some really good ratings. Good job. My number 4 villain might come as a bit of a surprise to you people, but it's Mother Gothel. Now, I love Tangled. My name is Punsy's Palace, but Mother Gothel is only my number 4 villain, and I think a lot of it has to do with I hate what she does to Rapunzel. It's absolutely terrible. It makes her a really good villain, but it kills me.
It looks absolutely exhausting, darling.
Oh, it's nothing.
Then I don't know why it takes so long. Oh, darling, I'm just teasing. Oh, look, you're here too. I'm just teasing. Stop taking everything so seriously.
One in for it. Why did you hurt
Okay, Rapunzel, please stop with the mumbling. You know how I feel about the mummy, blah, 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 blah. It's very annoying. I'm just teasing. You're adorable. I love you so much, darling. No, I hate leaving you after a fight, especially when I've done absolutely nothing wrong. I just listened for the sound of complete and utter betrayal and followed that.
It's taking somebody who is this sweet sunshine, like she's literal sunshine, and absolutely dimming her and breaking her. And luckily Rapunzel has such a strong spirit that she isn't broken by the end. Of those 18 years of manipulation and passive-aggressive emotional abuse, and the fact that she's able to come out of that still pretty okay is amazing and such a testament to why Rapunzel is an amazing character. But we're talking about Mother Gothel. Why is she a good villain? Well, in my opinion, a good villain has to have a bit of some dramatic flair. I love a villain with style. Megamind said it best.
You're a villain, all right. Just not a super one. Yeah? What's the difference? Presentation!
And she does it so well.
The play.
No!
Yes.
Also large bugs, men with pointy teeth, and stop no more. You'll just upset me.
Her Mother Knows Best songs are so dramatic and so like theatrical and beautiful, as well as just her general look is very theatrical. She's got the very Renaissance style kind of dress going on. She's got the big fluffy hair. She has a cape that she swirls around. It's amazing. That's a big part of why she's in my top 4. Now, a reason why she is so far down again is because of how she treats Rapunzel, but she's very calculating and patient.
All good things to those who wait.
It's beautifully written. It's really well done, but I hate her as a character. But the only reason why I would get a few Mother Gothel merch items and why she's in my top 4 is mainly because I would love to play her in like a show or something. I think that would be so much fun. I think it would be a really interesting role to get into and be able to play the two sides of like, oh, I'm your loving mother, but I'm actually really manipulative and calculating and I just want your hair and I want to be young forever. I think that would be such a fun role to play, but I hate her. I hate her so much. Anyway, moving forward. Villain number 3 is Gaston. I love Gaston. Now talk about some dramatic flair. An entire number singing all about how great you are. Amazing.
As a specimen, yes, I'm intimidated.
As well as, I feel like a lot of people hate on Gaston because they think of him as just this giant Chad frat boy kind of guy, when he's really not. He's also very manipulative and very calculating, as well as very charismatic, which just shows how dangerous charisma can actually be. Because at the very beginning, we see him take a book from Belle and be like,
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
and I think we all automatically assume that he's saying that as if he can't read something that if it doesn't have pictures, but it's actually the opposite. He's a very intelligent man, and you see this later on in the story. It's more of a dig at Belle, being like, you're a stupid girl, a stupid woman, how are you able to read something if it doesn't have pictures? And that is just so villainous and makes that line just so much more evil. And then, you know, his blatant disregard for women being people is probably why he's number 3, because I'm not a huge fan of that. But he is number 3 because of how he is able to take this information that Belle presents to him of how the beast is real and she thinks that he's really nice and everything. And so he's able to not only throw her father into psychiatric hospital, but also is able to get Belle in there as well, unless she'll marry him, which she doesn't want to. So he's like, all right, you're going in the loony bin because she is psychotic and everybody agrees with him. And then he's able to wrangle up an entire angry mob to go and storm the beast's castle to defeat him.
Oh, it's time to take some action, boys. It's time to follow me.
If that isn't charisma, I don't know what is. He is just this beacon for the entire town. And I think what makes him so extra evil is that Gaston, he isn't some magical being. He isn't some person dealing with a lot of magic or anything in his life. That's all having to do with the beast in his castle. He is somebody who is very realistic to what an actual villain in real life could be like. Somebody who thinks that women's opinions don't matter, or they don't really have good opinions, that women aren't really that smart. Somebody who is able to get everybody on their side just because of how conventionally attractive they look and how they are very charming and have all of the good qualities of a manly man that everybody respects and admires. And that's why he gets everybody on his side, even though he's a villain. And I think that is just so perfectly villainous. Also, Beast and Gaston's like big battle at the end, amazing. So good. Up to villain number 2 is DrFacilier from Princess and the Frog. He is so cool, and I think a big part of it is probably because Michael loves him so much, so it kind of influenced me. But talk about some awesome dramatic flair and presentation in his number, Friends on the Other Side. First off, the entire Princess and the Frog soundtrack is a bop. Also, Friends on the Other Side is an even bigger bop. It's sung by Keith David, and also Facilier is just voiced by Keith David, who has an amazing, just deep and enticing voice, which just makes him amazing. But also I love his aesthetic of the purple and the lime green, and his villainy and his story is actually very interesting because the thing is, he's not really the main villain. He's just somebody kind of stuck in a bad place, and so he has to use more evil ways to get what he wants to be able to be happy, because the main villains are really the voodoo monster people, and he sold his soul to them, so he can't do any voodoo for himself. And I would love to learn more about his kind of backstory of like why he sold his soul and he can't do voodoo on himself and how that all played out. And we see this in the opening number. He's a guy kind of down on his luck. He does these small little voodoo tricks for people, and he gets very, very petty cash from it.
Don't be shy. Come on down here and give us a try. You wanna do some living before you die.
He wants to be rich, dream big, and I love that dynamic with him against Tiana.
Gotta hand it to you, Tiana. When you dream big. Just look at this place.
They are both people who dream big and want bigger things for themselves. And I think it's also awesome because they are both people of color characters who are stuck at the bottom and want to rise to the top. And it shows the difference between somebody kind of scheming their way to the top and cutting corners to get their way to the top and doing it in an unethical way and showing how that's bad, whereas Tiana is somebody who's working hard all of her life. Even though they both face the same amount of kind of setbacks, she is able to get there eventually at the end because she approaches it with love and hard work and determination instead of trying to scheme her way to the top. And I love that dynamic, and I think it is so beautifully done, especially because the fact that they are not against each other the entire movie. DrFacilier's main opponent is Naveen, because he needs Naveen in his scheme to get Big Daddy's money. He doesn't really come into interaction with Tiana until the very end, and he sees right through her and he's like, I know exactly what you want. We are the same person. And I love that Tiana stands up to him and she's like,
But he had what he needed. He had love. He never lost sight of what was really important.
Easy with that. Careful.
And neither will I.
and it is so important to show that to kids, and I absolutely love that in the movie. It's amazing, and I think if they didn't have DrFacilier being that kind of character, it would not have played as good. And also, the ending song for his death,
Just a little more time. I promise I'll pay your back. I promise.
very, very scary, very amazing, and I love that. And now for my number one villain. I'm sure you have probably guessed it already based on what I'm wearing. It is Ursula. I love Ursula. So let's just go through all the reasons. They are in no particular order, one being better than the other, but let's just go through them. So first, her aesthetic is purple and black, and I absolutely love purple. So I love that. Number two, she is this giant sea witch squid, and she is large and in charge, and I love it.
It's rude.
And would I like for there to be a princess character who isn't a typical slender body type? Yes, because I think that'd be more important. Moana, we're getting there. But I absolutely loved that she was this big lady and she loved that about herself. And I love that. She looked absolutely fabulous still the whole time. I never really thought that Ursula was ugly. I always thought that she was just like a powerful woman in charge of herself. Her look is very much based on a drag queen, and I think because of my love for watching RuPaul's Drag Race over the years, it made me also love Ursula more and more because very drag queen aesthetic and essence to both of them, and I love it.
Not that I blame you. He is quite a catch, isn't he? Well, Angel Fish, the solution to your problem is simple.
As well as she has an amazing number. Poor Unfortunate Souls is an amazing number. It's great. The theatrics to it, the singing to it, the power of it is amazing.
Unfortunate soul, go ahead, make your choice. I'm a very busy woman and I haven't got all day. It won't cost much, just your voice.
Again, I love when it's not just good guy versus bad guy is the main story. Her qualm is not with Ariel at all. She helps Ariel achieve her dream. Now, is she kind of manipulating it a little bit to be like, I'm doing this so I can get to your dad and get his power. If you're not able to get a kiss from Eric, then you're gonna have to belong to me forever, and I have you as my little chess piece I'm holding in order to actually get to Triton. And I think that little scheming thing is amazing. Like, not amazing because she's preying on a 16-year-old girl to have her own needs met, but I think it's really cool that she's, instead of just manipulating Ariel in a way that's like, I'm being really mean and bad, it's a way to be like, I can get you what you want, which is similar to what DrFacilier was trying to do at the end with Tiana. But Ursula actually goes through with it, and she doesn't trick her. She doesn't give her legs, but actually her legs are like really gross looking and they don't actually work or something. She gives her working legs. She takes her voice, but she told Ariel that's what I'm gonna need in exchange for it. And so she's able to do all of that. She has it on a binding legal contract that she even shows to Triton, so he can't even try to break it.
You see? The contract's legal, binding, and completely unbreakable, even for you.
It's kind of Ariel's fault that she signed it. There's a whole video of me talking why I understand why she signed it, but Ursula is just so good. She is playing her game so well. She knows exactly what she wants at the end. If you look into some of the more background of Ursula as a character, I'm pretty sure her and Triton were like brother and sister, and then she kind of got banished and she got the magic shell and Triton got the trident, and that's more from like the musical, and she kind of wants to be back on top. She wants to rule the ocean again like she once did. Now, did she rule the ocean in kind of a terrible manipulative way? Yeah. But she's a villain and she's amazing, and I just love her. Now, I will say that I do have an idea for like a Wicked kind of story retelling of Ursula, where it's Ursula's story of how she became who she was and making it seem like she's more of the protagonist and everything like that. And I think there's a really good story that can be had there, because if you really think about it, in Ursula's story, Triton is the main villain, and he's kind of also a secondary villain to Ariel because of what he does to her dreams and not understanding her and taking away everything from her, whereas Ursula is somebody who cares about what Ariel would want and actually helps her get there. I think it's really cool. So anyway, that is why Ursula is my favorite villain, and that's why all the other four are also in my top 5 favorite villains. I love a lot of other villains too. I love Hades and I love a lot of the other villain songs. I think they're fantastic, but those are just my top 5 favorite villains. Let me know, who is your favorite villain down below? Do we have any in common that you really like? I would love to know in the comments. And if you like this video, guys, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And until next time, farewell.